So let us start. And the first presentation, which is called TRIZ Specification and Application of a 7 step-by-step approach for systematic knowledge and technology transfer. And I guess this will be presented by Silvia Liubenova Popova. I will make you a panelist so you can share your screen and use your microphone. Okay, participants, right. Okay, yeah. So, Ms. Silvia, now you are a panelist. So you can share your screen and you use your microphone.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just share my screen. Okay. All right. You're able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see the screen and hear you.
Perfect.
So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, first of all, for the opportunity to speak here and to represent my institution, the HTW, the University of Applied Sciences in Dresden, Germany. So as you already mentioned, our topic is about the reverse version of the TRIZ methodology. And what it represents is a 7-step approach for patent exploitation, or how it's also called knowledge and technology transfer. Today, I'm going to speak for my group. So a short outline of my presentation. First, I'm going to introduce our research institution. Then we're going to go in depth into the 7 steps of our TRIZ reverse technology transfer approach. And in the end, I'm going to present to you the outcome of our research. So first of all, where is Germany? If we look at the European map, you can see that it's far on the east, on the border to Czech Republic and Poland, and it's very close to Berlin. So if you ever get the chance to travel to Germany and be close around Berlin, you should definitely have a look at Dresden as well. It goes very quickly. You can go there in 2 hours with the IC. What is there to find in Dresden, except for its wonderful river Elbe and the architecture in the old town? You can find a lot of research institutes, and there are mainly global foundries, Infineon Technologies, Bosch, and NXP as the semiconductor companies, which are based in Dresden. Our greatest universities, except for ours, is, of course, you can also find a technology university, the TU Dresden, and also a private university, which is also part of the TU Dresden, the Dresden International University. And our most famous research institutions, you probably heard of Fraunhofer, Max Planck, or maybe the Helmholtz Institute. A short overview of our institution. We have around 5,000 students. You can study 40 different programs, and we have 170 professors and are very interconnected on a worldwide scale with 150 partner universities. And our motto as a University of Applied Sciences is achieve more practically. If you want to read more about our university, you can visit our webpage, which is indicated down below. I would like to shortly introduce our team. It's Professor Günther. He's a professor for process and innovation management. And if you're very keen to know more about our TRIZ research, you should definitely tune in on the 18th, so on Saturday, and listen to his presentation. We have Matthias Bauch, who is the technology transfer coordinator, Sergio Garzon, our marketing strategist, commercial planning and market research specialist, and myself. I'm a research associate in the area of technology development and technology transfer. And our goals as a whole for TRIZfest and its development are to generate more innovations, to add value for anybody who is interested in innovation management and TRIZ in specific, and of course to deliver a meaningful exploitation method for patents. Now let's dive into the 7-step approach. So how do we do it in practical steps? First of all, it's very important to have access to a pool of patents. So my first recommendation for the first step would be to definitely make use of your own network or get to know people or organizations who are involved in intellectual property creation or management. And that is the case. So because if you don't have the opportunity to have the access to relevant intellectual property, that might be a difficulty for you to further on proceed with this process. So the main step in this approach is first of all to find relevant patents and then to select exactly how you want to select and who you let guide yourself. You have to decide for yourself. So in this regard, I'm not going to give any advice, but on the parts after you have made your selection. The second step would be to definitely try to understand the patent text and maybe get help and support from people who are in this industry where your patent is situated, and let them explain to you, or do some research on the industry itself, and try to find keywords. So identify the keywords in the patent text using the 39 parameters of the classic TRIZ contradiction matrix. So first of all, you want to find keywords that indicate a connection to the technical solutions which are improved by the invention. And secondly, you want to identify keywords which connect to technical solutions which play a role as a limiter or try to prevent unwanted change. Examples for an improvement might be that the invention is increasing the speed of production or enhance the quality. And examples for limiters might be that the invention helps you to prevent the excessive use of energy or other resources. Then, when you have identified keywords in the text, you have to indicate not the keywords, but the technical parameters in a matrix that I have created. So basically this whole research, I think I have not mentioned yet, these 7 steps I have created as part of my master's thesis. And there are some Excel sheets which are to be used as a basis to approach these 7 steps. Yes, when it comes to the second step, this IPIP matrix will help you to accelerate the discovery of the relevant inventive principles, and you will also discover with the filter function the most relevant ones for you. And here is an example. That's a screenshot from the Excel sheet. And as you can see in the patent that I have analyzed in this example, which we will talk about a bit later, there were some of the suggestions, for example, segmentation, and then we will have other principles which were shown as relevant by this tool. So after the tool has given you the most relevant inventive principles for yourself, you would have to translate. And what I mean with translate is to turn the inventive principles in keywords that are used in the common languages of the countries' patents that you are analyzing. So my research was based, or our research was based on a German patents, but nevertheless, I used the approach which is suggested by Daryl Mann in 2006. You can just research it online. You will find his paper very quickly. And what he has suggested is that every inventive principle matches some keywords, and I've translated the keywords from English to German, and that's how I applied this kind of translation of the inventive principles to keywords which might be used in normal patent language. And considering the language, you might also want to consider that the patent law language is quite different at times compared to normal everyday language. So the words have to fit. What you also need to find additionally for this third step is to analyze which are the most frequently used words in the patent. And the easiest way to do this, or my suggestion, would be to use a word density analyzation tool. If you want some examples, I can give you some examples for software later. There are also a lot and very useful open source tools outside on the internet. What you need at last is the database or the logic operators, and these depend as well on the database that you're using. For the German database, of course, you would use German equivalents, which are und, oder, and so on in English, and or. After you have found these and you have created your code, follows the step number 4, and this is a trial and error process. So after you have created, and it depends, so the success of your further on work depends on how well you prepared yourself on the step 3. So if you have created at least one code, but I would recommend to do 3 or more, you would have an easy work creating or finding the best matching patent lists. So basically what you're doing is you take the code from step 3 that you have in the best way written and pre-prepared in an Excel sheet or a Word document, and then you test it on the patent domain. So for my case, it was the DPMA, it's a German patent website, one of the commonly used, where you would find a lot of data that would help you with your further research. And it's important to have a limit on the hit lists. So what you want to limit yourself or watch out for is that the results that you receive, so the hit lists, as I called it here, have between 100 and 500 results in the end. And if you, for example, notice that your search code is delivering you, let's say 10,000 or 1 million results, it might just happen. It has happened sometimes in my research as well. And I had to adjust the code introducing and or operators, or sometimes if the results are too narrow, you might want to add a question mark, which will give you a broader span, so a larger hit list. Yes, and as soon as you found one hit list that has at least 100, but not more, in the best case 500 hits, you might proceed to the next step, which I have created for a very nice semi-automated patent list. And why semi-automated? The thing is, at least for the German patent page, DPMA, the list that they're delivering to you will come in an older file, an Excel file, and you would have to convert it. And then the results that you get, so basically you download the list, you convert the old file into a new Excel file, which the newest versions of Excel can process, and then you have to pay attention when to copy and paste the content. And then the result is that you get a statistical analysis, or more or less a representation of the data that you have inserted. And in my case, it was very obvious, it was a very good signal that I would have to further analyze in the next step the sections B, G, and H. So you pay attention to the areas with the highest amounts of hits. So, and what are these A to H? These are the different industries or the different IPC groups. And yes, let's continue to the next one. The sixth and almost last step of the real identification, or the real, let's say, analyzation of the Excel file or the patents itself, is to hone in on identifying clusters. So clusters are very big groups of patents where you can find a connection to, let's say, a sector of second level hierarchy. That means that I have given you an example. So you would have, when we go back, maybe here at H. So H stands for electricity. And then you have, so H is the highest category that you can find. And then you go to the second level hierarchy, which is the H01. And then you would mark everything with a color and then hone in on the next level hierarchy, the third level hierarchy, which starts with another letter and then maybe some numbers depending on how subdivided the category is. And then what you basically do is to analyze what is the highest amount of codes that you could find fitting in a cluster. And then what I have included as well, but which is not obligatory for anybody, this is just my recommendation, as basically all these steps are. I have found that the patent database themselves, they don't offer the information for country, entity, so basically what the company is about, or what if it's a person or if it's an organization which has issued the patent. Then they have not included the industry, no contacts, and also the patent plot was not very well written. So I definitely recommend that for further usage of your analysis, you want to include these data. Any other data which is written above, except for these 5 areas, are included in the list that you receive by the patent database. So when you perform internet research, you would basically want to hone in on understanding the patents that you have analyzed. Who has issued them? Is it an organization or is it a person? And what is the patent summed up in 2 or 3 sentences? Because the description of the patent sometimes is just too long, even though that should be like a summed up, like a summary or a short presentation of what the patent is about. But there's a better way to write it down. And also if you present it later to a customer, for example, they would want to know in 2 or 3 sentences, what is actually the technology that you're showing me right now and why is it relevant for us? And then the last step of the technology transfer approach would be definitely to analyze which are specific areas that have the most potential value for you or your customer that you're doing the analysis for, and then to also identify unexpected areas where maybe you haven't expected or haven't seen any potential, but might bear a lot of profit opportunities for you and your partners. And yes, I definitely recommend that you include market analysis and inform yourself about the trends in the areas, so in the industries where you have identified potentials for the transfer of your patent. So as a whole, to sum it up, this 7 steps would help you to take a patent and then try to find out or try to analyze by doing the research with the patent list if you can transfer from one area to another and basically create an outcome with positive revenue for yourself if the patent is yours, or for your customers if you're working for somebody else. Now let me report to you what was the outcome of creating this method and testing this practically on one patent. What we have tested this on, or what I have researched, is a patent which was initially thought for a medical purpose, and the background of why I was suggested by Professor Günther, who was my supervisor during my studies in international management. He suggested to me for my master's thesis to work on TRIZ reverse and to analyze a patent which has a medical background, and it was supposed to be used for implants and for other medical purposes. And it was a collagen-based layer material, which can be, which is very well compatible with any biodegradable other materials. What I've done, I've just included a screenshot for you, is I've researched the text and mainly the biggest, let's say not the biggest, the most important parts of the patents, which are in German it's called Patentanspruch. So these are the requests, so the most important steps that, or let's say the requests that you make with applying for this patent. Usually in German patents you can find these parts, so these are just a few fragments of text in the first pages or in the last pages. So this was just a screenshot of my research, and I don't want to overload you with all the information and all the research I did in between. So basically the outcome in the last step was that I identified 4 sectors explicitly in the area H. So it was electricity, and B, which is for transport, but also packaging. And after speaking to the whole team and with the patent holders, with the owners of the patent, we decided to go for the packaging industry. So that's the IPC code B65D 90/48. And yes, it sounds very technical, but basically it was just for us more of luck, I would say, but we are keen to systematize and maybe show for the future that also with other patents you can systematically show, and maybe after we have analyzed a lot more patents and have the database, we'll be able to find some connections regarding the way that the patents are written. But that is an area that Professor Günther is going to talk about on Saturday. So what was the outcome of all this research? We have applied for funding from the European Fund for Regional Development and have received a grant, which was a big surprise, but also made us very happy. And we received the fund for the next, or from April for the next 18 months for the patent. And our objective is the patent analysis and exploitation in the field of biocompatible materials. And we will focus on consumer goods and packaging. So here you can see again how our material looks like. And I hope that I have given you an overview on what is possible to be done with TRIZ, and that you can really take something from the theory into practical involvement. And I hope that I have inspired, and our whole team has inspired you to have a look at TRIZfest, and maybe you want to further, yes, post your questions. And if you come up with some questions later on, please let me know, write me an email, and I'm happy to answer for you.
All right. Thank you very much, Silvia. We have 5 minutes for questions.
Yes.
There was a first question from Siegfried Weger. IP matrix, what is it?
Can you see now the questions here when I open it? I'm probably still.
You can see it in chat.
Right?
You can see it
Okay.
in chat if you open. Yeah.
Yes, I will open. Yes, please check who you send the message to if you wish. No, send me here. Is it in the chat? Where exactly? In the questions and answers?
No, there is in the chat itself.
In the chat itself, IP metrics, what is that? What is that? That is just an abbreviation. Maybe I'll just go back to the slide itself. That is, let's say, a new invention of myself. It's a technical tool. It's an Excel sheet, inventive principle, identification, and prioritization matrix. And what it basically depicts is that you would have on the top layer the TRIZ matrix itself. So you would have here the technical indicators for the undesired change and the technical indicators. So on the y-axis, you will have the undesired change, and on the x-axis, you would have the desired or the improvement. And then below, there would be a big window with all the inventive principles and the matches. So how many times the inventive principles were mentioned in this matrix here above would be counted down below and then summed up on the very right side. And that would basically help you to identify which is the most relevant inventive principle. And IP is just like an acronym, or how would you say, just an abbreviation of what it actually does.
So there are more questions from Siegfried regarding to this. That is it available free to everybody from you directly from the chair? Do you need a license?
So basically what I did is I developed this as a part of my master's thesis. So if you want to have this available, we can speak about it. You can write me an email.
All right, thank you. There was another question from Hans-Gerd Grabe. How this relates to the patent analysis research at INSA Strasbourg?
How does this relate the patent analysis? I don't very much understand the question. So how does this relate
to
INSA? What is INSA?
In INSA, this is Technological University of Strasbourg in France, which has been very long time busy with automated patent analysis, TRIZ research for AI. Are you aware of this research?
I'm not well aware of this research, but I would definitely look it up. So thank you for letting me know that this research organization is already probably focusing on automated patent research. I will definitely read about it. Thank you.
Thank you. There is a question from Oleg Abramov. Is this somewhat similar to adjacent market identification? You are looking for new applications for some invention, aren't you? What is the most difficult step in your 7-step roadmap?
Yes, it is similar. The way that is, so this methodology is supposed to help you in any case, but especially in the case when you are not able to exploit your patent in the desired direction initially. So in our case, it was a medical patent and it was not able to be exploited immediately or fast enough in the medical industry. So we just tried our luck, let's say it this way, by trial and error, since we're in research, and we're able to find alternative industries. So it's an alternative industry identification. And are you looking for new applications for some new invention? Yes, of course. This is the way that you find alternative markets. So, but it's not said that it has to be a very new application. It could be also a new industry with a similar application. So it's not really a given. So it depends on the needs of the market. And what is my favorite step? I would say that the almost last step, finding the clusters. So when you try to analyze and have a look on the bigger picture, and then you find out the biggest clusters, then you will see a connection, and then it finally makes sense, and then you're happy you did it. So you can see the big picture in the end and the connection. So that's probably my most favorite step. What is license? Yes. Okay. Maybe the time is over. I guess.
The time is over right now.
All right.
So I'm very sorry.
All right.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your presentation.